graduated, elevated. Now it's my time to shine, yeah, let's go. Major moves, power moves, take it to the top one time, non-stop.
Yeah, and it goes back to the point that you made, which is the people currency. If you don't have the soft skills, stay at home because you can be fantastic. But to get money, like you said, it's people who make those decisions. So if you're not sociable, it becomes rather a challenge, really, because you have to brand yourself, going back to person's a brand, etc. And people buy into what they see, which makes my life a difficulty if I'm oversharing, because people think, oh, she's so outgoing. I'm not. I'm actually shy. So when they meet me, sometimes I'm just like, oh God, right, go back into this is me, and it's quite difficult at times. But to move on to your next business, which is Ontology of Value test, with the funding and where you are now, what made you start this business?
Right. Actually, I started in a sauna. So I was like the other day, it was in the early pandemic, and I was sitting in a sauna, one of these saunas in the Netherlands where you have the whole complex of saunas and swimming pools in one place,
Yeah.
away from the city, somewhere in the suburbs, and there is a restaurant in the middle. And I was sitting in that restaurant in a blue bathroom gown and talking to other people sitting there in blue bathroom gowns. And we were just chatting, and I could see that despite everyone is dressed the same way and they're just sitting like with their wet hair and with no visual cues of what they do in like daily life, from the way they speak to me, I can tell who is corporate, who is a business owner, who is unemployed, who is retiree. So it's like there must be some way of back engineering this problem and actually making a tool that kind of predicts where you would function given how you think and how you solve problems and how you basically make choices. So that's when I started thinking, okay, how can I operationalize this problem? And I spent the whole pandemic building these tests where we basically uh, worked with professionals from 17 countries, like all knowledge workers, and we created a test that puts you on a map of what work environments you fit best. So we profiled for corporations, for consulting firms, for academia, for public organizations, for startups, for freelancing, for entrepreneurship. And we had like 8 categories. We basically mapped out like how people typically respond to these questions, and the questions are all about making decisions in professional life. And so basically what you get out of the test is you can see in numbers where like in which percentiles you are compared to the reference population we had in the study. So how corporate you are, how entrepreneurial you are. So you can see, oh, I'm more entrepreneurial than 85% of the population, or I'm more corporate than 55% or so. So you can see you have a cheat sheet showing you whether you would have an easy start in that environment or not. And at the same time, the same test also fits you to 8 different roles on teams. So you can see your potential in different roles, such as a manager, a specialist, and then there are 8 different types. Some of them we actually named specifically for this test, so it's hard to explain here, but overall, it's all about how you position yourself toward other people on teams. So this is also interesting because most people didn't have a chance to work in all kinds of roles. So they can actually check if they have a potential for a specific role. And the test is available. We sell it mostly B2B and B2G, so universities, companies, but also individuals. You can get on the website and you can try it. Maybe for your audience, maybe we could do some giveaway. How about
Yeah.
that?
Why not?
If you'd like to, yeah. Then let me just arrange this so that a number of your viewers can actually take the test for free. Let's do that. Great. And yeah, so it's been working, and I also keep on working on the content. So the manual to the test and the interpretation and the career advice given your results, it actually gets bigger and bigger. Like it just gets in volume because now with AI in the picture, I also have more to say about how to navigate with those particular profiles. So the material gets extended. So it's a work in progress, but so far so good. It's been thousands of people we helped, many countries, many work environments. It's all knowledge workers though. There's also a version for students, so undergrad students can also take the test. And we combine these tests also with workshops. So yeah, actually it's like central product in the company right now. And yeah, I'm very proud of it. It's actually working really good. And even like when I was in India, just befriended entrepreneurs also took the test, and one of them actually got a job, also inspired by the test. So the test showed him that he's actually a good material for an academic, which he was doubting because he dropped out of his PhD many years ago. But he kind of got convinced again that this might be the direction, and he felt confident enough to take a job at the local university. So he just started with 1st April. So I was really glad to see that this test made him more confident in the decision to come back to working at the university. So yeah, it works for people of all backgrounds, all yeah, across many countries, and eventually we're all in one cloud right now. So work is more similar around the world than ever in terms of
Yeah,
knowledge work. So
that's true.
we all struggle with very similar dilemmas in our professional lives, and I can tell even in India, like Himalayas, you would think life is very different there. Well, maybe in the street, but when it comes to intellectual work, it's pretty much the same as here.
It is. And just to add on to that point, a lot of US-based companies have moved actually to the Indian Silicon Valley, I'll call it, because it's quite similar. You know, culture may be different, but the reality is it is the same. You know, coding is the same globally everywhere. So you can't change that essentially. But to go to your point, so just thinking out loud is that we'll do a giveaway for one person, but we'll do a discounted code for those who are undergrads, etc. Then you get your cheddar that way, and we'll make it exciting. So coming soon on socials, make sure you're on there. Moving on to the next point, which is, you know, being a startup mentor. I've spoken to quite a few PhDs on this platform who've gone on to apply for funding, but obviously due to visa restrictions, maybe in the US, for example, the business is part owned by the university and they're part owner, and they're going through the learnings of, I've got a visa, I've got this idea, it's great, but obviously I can't take it to my home country because I've signed this contract, A, B, C, D. And then we have other individuals who are in Germany, actually, like you were saying, there's so many startup hubs who've applied for funding, they've realized there's European funding and their businesses are thriving. Then you have others whose businesses have not done so well and they've had to restart again. So the question I have is, you know, being a startup mentor, what are the benefits of contacting you when I'm hearing all these stories?
Right. Well, so I think when you contact a startup mentor, well, I mostly work with accelerators, right? So accelerators, because with founders seeking funding, especially, it's actually the same as with people looking for jobs, right? This is not where the funding is. So it's usually working with accelerators who take care of their startups. And so directly I work with accelerators, and then they bring startups on board. But like definitely there is a benefit in working with a startup mentor, because you sometimes need that voice of like rationality
Of course.
and just common sense,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just easier to see solutions to the problems from the outside, because uh, as a startup founder, you are in your bubble, like you're just 24/7 thinking only about your startup, and
Mm-hmm.
basically startup mentors, just as career advisors, they are usually well connected people who spend a lot of time on reading, following the media, following the trends. So they have a much brighter perspective of problems,
Mm-hmm.
and also they interact with more teams, so they actually also can adapt similar
Mm-hmm.
strategies. So they basically learn on like real cases how you solve certain classes of problems today, and what works, what doesn't work. And so this is like a street knowledge that you acquire via doing projects. So
Mm-hmm.
working with more startups than just one, you basically can adapt similar strategies, learn from one team, adapt it to another team. Like let's say I was actually recently mentoring a startup that is building a platform for young football players, and
Mm-hmm.
basically for new talent in football, which is like very big in Poland. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually a Polish startup, and the team was great. Like I am not into football at all, like or soccer, but I don't even know the precise rules. But the team was great, so we did work together. I helped them get their seed funding, and they had such a nicely done CRM that like very nicely formatted, and I think just very smartly done, that I just took their formatting and applied it to my own company, because I was like, this is just better than what I have. So and so this is, and when I work with the next startup, I would probably also tell them, hey, look at this. This
Yeah.
is how a perfect CRM should look like. And this is actually, they did it by themselves. It's not done by any of these popular platforms like HubSpot. It's much more intuitive, much cleaner. It's actually great what they did. So basically having a startup mentor as somebody who is just interacting with many startups at a time and just can adapt whatever works for others, they can adapt what like to your case, is actually great. Because again, when you are full on working on a startup, you are like just with head down on your project, and you cannot look around. You don't have time for it. You don't have memory, like working memory for it. You have to keep on grinding, just going like according to your to-do list, your agenda, and you have very little time to really sample information from your environment and just learn from others. So having somebody who is from the outside and just jumping in once in a while to take care over you, like take care of you and your project, and sharing like broader perspective is actually really valuable. But again, I also know that for many startups, this is not a priority, right? Because they are, again, the short on cash and burning cash on the developer and the actual developing. So having a mentor is usually just a luxury for those who are already in Accelerator or have some other like net, like safety net around them that can take care of them. But if you are a founder and you are not formally helped, you can still reach out to successful founders that are more senior, that are perhaps already established, and they just have free time that they can now spend on helping younger founders. And they often enjoy doing it, and they don't have any expectations to be paid or anything. They just do it for their own satisfaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can even end up investing in you, because if they see that you're talented, then they might not only be your mentor, but also actually put some cash on the table.
No, that is true. And I think it all goes back to your point, which is the social currency, isn't it? soft skills, essentially, and looking in the right places and taking that time. And I always make this joke, and I always say, common sense is not common. Literally, it genuinely isn't. And sometimes it takes time. It takes you speaking to somebody for you to realize, I lacked a bit of common sense in that situation. I reacted and it was not necessary. I just needed to think. Literally.
Right.
So the question I have, I know some people, they're not really adverse in terms of business jargon, is CRM, what does it stand for? So that people know at home.
Right. Oh, sorry about this. It's a client relations management system.
Mhm.
So that means you basically put some structure to your contacts, right? So for
Mhm.
instance, you put together a list of all leads, meaning potential clients, or leads for investors, so potential investors. And it's a database basically. It's a
Mhm.
database where you keep all the relevant contacts. And I would say that just coming back to networking, I think even if you don't have a business, but you're an individual just building a career for yourself, I think having that form of a CRM to put together all your professional contacts and have them at hand, it's really useful as well. And I would also recommend that, because then when in need, you need to have that list at hand to see,
Mhm.
okay, who can help me with this problem, right? Who are the first three people I can call to solve this problem or to advise me with this? Or let's say you lose a job and then you're like, oh my God, like what do I do next? So then you
Mhm.
open your CRM and then you're like, okay, what type of organization do I want to join? Who do I have here in my CRM to potentially connect me? So it's really handy, especially given that not everyone is on LinkedIn, not everyone is active there, not
Of
everyone.
course.
It's always yeah. So I think just accumulating this information, like as you go, it's really good. It's an asset that you should keep. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. And if we're going to use it in, we'll say old school language, it's a black book. That's what it
Yeah.
is, basically.
Yes.
That's your power, that's your gold, essentially. Because like you said, if you're dismissed from a job or if you work somewhere and they're stuck, let's say you're in a meeting and they're like, we need this piece, or we need this supplier, or we need this kind of foundation. If you're in cosmetics, you just sit there, you listen because you want a raise, and then you say, I know this person, and you make that phone call. Trust me, you will get your money.
Right.
There is power in it, essentially. So you'll be glad to know we've come to the final question. And the question is, I got in contact with you, about being a guest on PhD Hard Talk. In your opinion, do you think, PhD Hard Talk is beneficial for, we'll say, scientists globally and also universities alike? Or do you think, Noma, just call it a day, it's not working, pack it up?
No, absolutely. Absolutely useful. It's also like I myself, I was learning so much from podcasts. I still do. Like
Mm.
that's one of the ways I kind of sample information about the job market, right? Because everyone lives in their own world, right? You have your own world in your head, in your mind, and I have mine, and then you can only like zoom into somebody's like little like world or little well somebody's world, somebody's universe, for a moment, just to learn how they perceive the world, and then you can swap to another person, and then from these little like highlights here and there, you can kind of build a map of okay, this is how the job market looks, and so you have those uh, snapshots here and there, and then you have like at some point you build a picture. And so this is like the podcast is a great way to learn about opportunities and about like how the world really looks. And I absolutely, I think like podcast for me personally is one of the best way of learning. And I'm actually glad that they're becoming more popular. Like when I was still a PhD student, it was not the case. It was actually early days for podcasts, and I didn't watch as many. And I think podcasts like yours, yeah, are definitely a great source of information for PhDs. So and yeah, that's also an advice I could give to PhDs. Yes, you can write, you can read Forbes articles or Nature careers articles about like global problems in academia or outside academia and global statistics on the job market, but it's actually what you really learn about how to navigate in the job market is when you track single individuals' career tracks and the ways they make decisions and why, that you can really learn something useful for yourself or how to make decisions. So I think looking at individual cases and individual stories is very beneficial. Yeah.
No, and I think it links into ontology of value, because again, when you listen to the lived experiences and you now know yourself and your personality, your character, and which career path you should be taking, then you're able to make a well-informed decision. And this is not us selling an idea, it's actually true. It's, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't know who I was. And, in terms of my drive as well and my passion, and, sometimes it can be too aggressive for certain environments. And now I know I don't go into those environments because I would always be perceived as an aggressor, because I want to get things done, but I want them to be a certain way. And I want to know the root cause to where we're going, risk assessment, and certain environments, they don't work like that. It's just as it comes. As
Yeah.
we call it.
So true.
But no, thank you very much for your time. And people at home, I know this has been quite an insightful discussion. If you want to find out more information, all details will be at the bottom, and we'll share. In terms of the giveaway, we'll think of something exciting, and also the discount. I think it'll be really beneficial for the PhD community and also master's students and undergrads, as you mentioned, in terms of them figuring it out, because you have to figure it out, but time can affect us in the sense of if you stay down too long, you'll feel like you're behind, and that's when you make not so good decisions. I think that's how I'll put it. You might be reactive and make decisions that will impact you far greater than you taking time to think and reason, and obviously work with ontology of value test to make that decision. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, Noma. Great to meet you.